nobody died, that there was no loss of human life.
Tonight, hot, dry, and windy weather is fueling several wildfires across the West, with conditions challenging crews. And as temperatures rise, people are doing what they can to stay cool.
They sell out like that. If we have a hot day, they'll be sold out like by midday.
And welcome everyone to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. Dangerous heat has taken hold all across the West, and those rising temperatures are really making it tough on crews who are fighting numerous wildfires tonight. We begin in the Pacific Northwest, where Oregon's Cram Fire has exploded in size. This fire has grown to more than 28,000 acres northeast of Bend. That's more than 6 times the size it was yesterday. People in some parts of Jefferson and Wasco counties have been ordered to evacuate. Crews have been called in from all across the state, but so far there is no containment on this fire. Oregon's fire marshal says the next 24 hours will be extremely challenging because of hot temperatures and gusty winds. Investigators do believe this fire was human caused. The fire sweeping across the Grand Canyon's North Rim is sending a lot of smoke right in the direction of tourists. Images posted online show thick smoke in some parts of the park that remain open. This fire has burned more than 8,000 acres and has destroyed the park's famous Grand Canyon Lodge, as well as several other cabins. Tonight, there's no containment on this fire in northern Arizona. Many business owners in the surrounding area say they're worried they won't be able to count on the kind of tourist traffic they were expecting this summer.
A lot of our businesses cannot withstand having more cancellations and stuff by people not understanding the difference. And so though we want to be very mindful, and we really, we're really thinking about all those folks, we also have foreign visitors coming from all over the world and so forth. And we just don't want the narrative out there to be that the Grand Canyon is closed.
Now tonight, Arizona Senators Ruben Gallego and Mark Kelly are calling for an investigation into how this fire is being handled. They have sent a letter to the Department of the Interior questioning why the fire was treated as a controlled burn initially after a lightning strike started it back on the 4th of July. The Park Service initially said the fire was being allowed to burn to benefit the land, and crews were keeping a close watch. Crews did not start actively trying to put out those flames until days later. Also, Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs is calling for an independent investigation into the management of that fire. In Utah, crews tonight are making progress fighting the Deer Creek fire, but there are still many evacuees who cannot go home.
Kind of a surreal feeling when you're like walking around your house and you're like, how do you prioritize? Like, what do you take?
The Deer Creek fire has grown to nearly 13,000 acres on the southeast side of the state. Containment tonight is up to 7%. There was no containment at this time yesterday, so there is some progress being made. People in small communities near the Utah-Colorado state line have been ordered to evacuate. Crews are worried that wind gusts will create critical fire weather later on this week. 5 homes and a number of other buildings have already been destroyed by the flames. Officials believe this fire was human caused. Crews in Colorado don't expect to reach full containment on the South Rim fire for another 3 weeks at least. A lightning strike started this fire last week west of Colorado Springs, and the flames have burned nearly 4,000 acres of rough terrain with no containment. Colorado Governor Jared Polis says a disaster declaration will allow the deployment of state personnel to assist in the response to this fire, as well as other smaller fires that are burning across that state. Well, tonight a warm-up in Seattle has a lot of people looking for ways to keep cool. Here's a live look at the downtown area tonight, where a heat advisory will remain in effect through tomorrow night. Fox 13's Nia Wong shows us how people are dealing with the heat.
On warm days like these,
this is a perfect way for them to cool down.
Shernique Davis believes this spray park in Highland Park is the place to be, which is why she brought her 4 kids.
They love it. Kids get to come outside more. The sun, it's something to do.
Other smiling faces agree.
There's dumb buckets and there's a lot of cool water.
While 7-year-old Phoebe cools off, her nanny from Arizona is prepared for hot temps at home.
We have a little air conditioning unit, Home Depot, from family room, one in the bedrooms upstairs.
Home Depot was among several stores we visited across West Seattle, where shelves were stocked with AC units and fans, including at McClendon's Hardware and Junction Ace Hardware.
It's typically in Seattle, what I've noticed, this temperature really at the max lasts for a week. So there's the bulk of people that are like, whatever, I'll deal with it until it's over.
In his 20 years working at Junction Ace Hardware, assistant manager Josh Pearson says his store is ready for the rush of people needing cooling units, which he believes will begin soon.
Usually when we get into the 80s, everybody starts to feel a little uncomfortable.
While these stores have ACs and fans for now, Lisa Locker knows from experience it's better to get one of these devices as soon as you can to beat the rush, rather than struggle to beat the heat.
They sell out like that. If we have a hot day, they'll be sold out like by midday.
In West Seattle, Nia Wong, Fox 13 News.
All right, for more, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez, who is tracking that heat as well as the challenging conditions for firefighters all across the West. Hey, Roberta.
Well, you began this broadcast talking about the Pacific Northwest, so I thought I'd do the same thing, Alex, and we will kickstart with from Seattle all the way through Portland into Eugene and Rosebud. We saw temperatures today anywhere from 85 to 95 degrees. So if they thought it was hot today in the mid and high 80s, well, it's going to be even hotter tomorrow. Other notable numbers, 102 today. That was experienced in portions of Arizona, Tucson, 107 in Phoenix, which is pretty spot on for this time of the year. 108 in Palm Springs, bested by 109 in the Vegas area, 98 degrees today in Redding, and the air quality there remains unhealthy due to the green fire that continues to burn out of control. Again, today in Seattle, 88 degrees, and typically this time of the year, you should be right around 78 degrees. Here's the scene looking out towards San Francisco. No sky, July. Lots of low clouds and areas of drizzle. 64 today, average high 67 degrees. And then we head to Phoenix at 107 degrees. In the Los Angeles area today, well below average, as well as San Francisco. But where we see the red flag warning, it happens to be in portions of Utah. We're in Salt Lake City. We do have a red flag warning in effect. Same story around the areas of Nevada, in the desert just outside of Las Vegas. And then we traverse on over to Salt Lake City, where today's high temperature was 91 degrees. Tomorrow will be right around 94 degrees there. So it's 64 degrees at this hour in San Francisco. It's 88 in Boise, and that's hot for this hour. 80 degrees, also warm in Denver. So here's the story. We have that huge dome of high pressure right here, right now. Fog bank keeping the coast side cool, and it's deepening, and will squeeze out some condensation all the way into the Santa Barbara area for our Wednesday. And the monsoonal moisture will continue across portions of the deep south of Arizona. We're talking right around Sierra Vista into the Tombstone area, into Tucson as well. And that'll bring down the temperature more into the 80s for your Wednesday there. But void of any of that precipitation will be Phoenix, and the temperature will be pretty close to average again in the triple digits. Look at Tucson, will drop down to 91 degrees, Scottsdale at 95, but we're talking about right around 80 degrees in Tombstone and in Sierra Vista. Denver, you have a temperature going up to about 90 degrees by Friday. Otherwise, boy, Phoenix is moderating out there, isn't it? Looks good. 78 degrees in Los Angeles, and temperatures pretty close to average for this time of the year in the Bay Area. Alex?
All right, Roberta, thank you. Tonight, Los Angeles police say they have arrested a man suspected of murdering a longtime music supervisor on American Idol, along with her husband. Robin Kay and her husband, Tom DeLuca, were both found shot to death yesterday at their home in the Encino neighborhood of L.A. Police were called there for a welfare check, and they forced their way inside after noticing blood on the front door. Investigators say the 22-year-old suspect, who's in custody, broke into that home while the couple was out, and when they returned, authorities say he shot them during a confrontation. Police say they do not believe the suspected killer has any relationship to the victims. I talked earlier with TMZ's Charles Lataboudiere about this shocking crime.
Robin was, for the last 15 seasons, the music supervisor for American Idol. She worked with the coaches, she worked with the contestants in selecting the music that they would perform, throughout their season on American Idol. So she was vital to the success of that show.
According to TMZ, police were called to the couple's home last week after a neighbor spotted a possibly armed person hopping the fence at their property. Officers never found the suspect in that case. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, some farmers across the West are expecting consumers will make changes in response to President Trump's newly reinstated tariffs on tomatoes. Coming up tonight, how one grower is hoping to benefit. Also, a helicopter taking flight with no pilot. We'll have the details on the autonomous choppers being tested in Arizona.
We just kind of sat there and watched it do the business, right? We're expanding the envelope by allowing the aircraft to fly itself.
The Trump administration is ending the deployment of 2,000 National Guard troops in Los Angeles. That's about half of the troops who were deployed to the city to respond to last month's protests over immigration raids. 150 troops were released earlier this month. 700 U.S. Marines were also sent to L.A. The Trump administration said they were deployed to protect federal property. This sparked a legal battle between the Trump administration and California Governor Gavin Newsom, who sued to try to stop the deployment. This afternoon, the governor called on President Trump to demobilize the rest of California's National Guard members. In California, a bill that would prohibit law enforcement officers from wearing masks in most cases started working its way through the state legislature today. This issue, of course, gained traction as federal agents have been seen wearing masks during recent immigration enforcement operations. KTVU's Devin Truby shows us what happened when lawmakers took up the proposal earlier today.
A proposed bill dubbed the No Secret Police Act would prohibit law enforcement at any level from wearing face coverings while policing in California. It would also require names and badge numbers be visible. It was introduced by State Senator Scott Wiener and Assemblymember Jesse Arguin.
For our state and local law enforcement who work so hard every day to build community trust and try to do the right thing, to have these thugs come in and do this, I can only imagine how demoralizing that is for our own officers.
Senator Wiener says he's not trying to lump all law enforcement together, but many on the Public Safety Committee struggled to see that differential.
We are pitting local law enforcement in a situation in which they are not there. They are not there. This is at the federal level.
Peace Officers Research Association of California is in opposition. They admit the federal agents' actions are inappropriate, but local law enforcement is being swept into this. They say a compromise would be a minimum standard that local departments could enforce and use to discipline officers if infractions occurred.
This isn't a standard. This is a new crime. Mandate standards. We will work in mandate standards and make them high, and make sure that we don't ever go down this road. And we will fully engage on that and support it.
Other members of the committee, including Assemblymember Matt Haney from San Francisco, had questions about enforceability. KTVU spoke with attorney Mark Reichel, a former federal public defender who has argued in the Supreme Court. He said if passed, the federal government or ICE will file a lawsuit claiming the federal supremacy clause, stating when conflicting federal supersedes states, that these charges likely won't stick to federal officers.
They would get a citation or get a charge in state court, in the California state courts, okay, for a misdemeanor crime. In my opinion, the federal government under Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and Donald Trump, the executive in charge, they would remove the case to federal court right away. They would remove the criminal case to federal court. And once there, Pam Bondi can dismiss any case she wants as the Attorney General.
The legislation does require state and local law enforcement to come up with a mask-specific policy by July 1st, 2026, if passed. Devin Truby, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
The Trump administration has fired at least 17 immigration judges in recent days. The union that represents federal workers says 15 of them were dismissed on Friday and then 2 more today. Those firings happened across 10 states, including California, Texas, and New York. The dismissals come as the courts are facing a backlog of 3.5 million cases. The union says more than 100 judges have left or been fired since the Trump administration took office. The administration did not immediately comment on the firings. The administration has prioritized both mass deportations as well as shrinking the size of the federal government. A transgender asylum seeker from Mexico has been released from an immigration detention facility in Washington state. She was held there for over a month after being arrested at an Oregon immigration court. The asylum seeker has been identified only as OJM. Her release comes after a federal judge in Oregon ordered ICE to free her. And today her attorney says she, quote, is now home with her family. Leaders in King County, Washington are considering a new measure to ensure the safety of its immigrant community. Councilmember Teresa Mosqueda is leading an effort to boost funding for deportation defense, citizenship, and workforce programs.
This motion today builds on King County's commitment to being a welcoming jurisdiction, where it is a point of pride in this county that a quarter of our population is made up of immigrants. We know our economy and our community is stronger, healthier, and more vibrant because immigrants are within our community.
The proposal also calls for the creation of a centralized website that will share vetted and trusted resources for immigration assistance. Well, opening statements got underway today in the murder trial of a Colorado dentist who's accused of poisoning his wife. Prosecutors told the jury today the defendant may have been motivated by a life insurance payout as well as an affair with another dentist. 47-year-old James Craig is accused of killing his wife Angela 2 years ago. Prosecutors say he put the poison in her protein drinks. The assistant district attorney said Craig gave his wife a final dose of poison after she had already been admitted to the hospital, complaining about dizziness, vomiting, and fainting.
He didn't go into that room to save Angela's life. He didn't go into that room to fight for her life, to support her. He went in that room to murder, to deliberately and intentionally end her life with a fatal dose of something.
The couple had been married for 23 years and had 6 children together. Prosecutors say James Craig was having financial difficulties. He has pleaded not guilty to those charges. Well, stocks ended the day mixed after inflation ticked up slightly in the month of June from the previous year. The Dow tumbled 436 points. Tech, including Silicon Valley chipmaker NVIDIA, boosted the Nasdaq today. It closed up 37 points, but the S&P was off by 25 points. President Trump's new tomato tariff has some farmers here in the West bracing for a shift in business. Fox 5's Evan Leake caught up with one grower in Las Vegas.
So if you get inside in the middle, you can find some nice ripe tomatoes. You just got to get down in there.
Mark Rubin is reaping the rewards of what he tells us is the biggest tomato crop at Gilcrease Orchard in over a decade.
So we sell about a ton of tomatoes every day that we're open. So that's like 3 tons a week.
How does this summer compare to last summer for you?
So this time last year, all the tomatoes were dead because we got to 120 degrees and they just cooked.
Roughly 6,000 plants trying to beat the heat from Mother Nature and the latest round of tariffs.
If this near 30-year trade agreement between the U.S. and Mexico ends, it means close to 21% tariffs being put on Mexican tomato exports. It's something that Mark and the team here at Gilcrease Orchard aren't particularly concerned about. They actually think it'll lead to higher demand of their produce.
When you're transporting tomatoes, they usually pick them green and then they gas them to turn them red. So that's why they don't usually in the store, they'll have not a true red, but kind of a pinkish red to them. And a homegrown tomato tastes so much better.
With such a large supply right now, Mark thinks higher demand from this new tariff may help cut down on food waste for domestic growers.
We have 12 rows of tomatoes that are 850 feet long. We won't raise our price, so it'll stay $1.50 a pound is what we charge for tomatoes.
Staying the course as other industries adjust to the latest target of the ongoing trade war.
And that was Fox 5's Evan Leake reporting tonight. Tomato importer Nature Sweet has confirmed to Fox News that tomato prices could jump by about 10% because of President Trump's new tariff plan. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, taking to the skies without a pilot. Tonight, the makers of this autonomous helicopter explain how it could be used in the future. Plus, see how some popular family-friendly games will be showcased at a Las Vegas casino. Well, it may look like any other helicopter, but this one is unique because it flies itself. Fox 10's Ty Brennan has more on the testing happening in the Phoenix area and explains how this helicopter could be used in the future.
There may be a test pilot sitting at the controls, but this helicopter is flying autonomously.
It started from a 50-foot hover. It took off, it transitioned forward, it accelerated to 50 knots. It slowed down, it came back to a hover without our intervention. We just kind of sat there and watched it do the business, right?
Billy is one of Honeywell's test pilots who flew on board the very first autonomous flight of this Leonardo AW139 helicopter in late May.
That's what we do in flight tests. We expand the envelope. Now we're doing it in an autonomous way. We're expanding the envelope by allowing the aircraft to fly itself.
Honeywell is working in conjunction with one of their many partners called Near Earth Autonomy to help develop the technology.
The goal is to take an existing airframe that they are already familiar with, that's already in the fleet, and show that that particular airframe can now also be used for different use cases.
In this case, to make the existing military helicopters fully autonomous. Honeywell says this particular technology would support the U.S. Marine Corps' Aerial Logistics Connector program.
I see a day where we do have more autonomously flown aircraft, and there's a lot of benefits, particularly to the military on this program that we're working on. When you can send an aircraft like this filled with cargo, resupplying ammunition and so on, when you can send that into the hot zone where the troops are and not risking the crew on board, it's going to make it much safer and more efficient for the military. And if you lose an asset, well, you've lost an aircraft, but you haven't lost a me and you, right?
Well, right now, while everything is still undergoing the testing phase, the pilots are still setting up in the flight deck, but this is where the engineers sit, and this is all of the technology that they use to make this helicopter autonomous. But one day, all this technology will be out of here, and this helicopter will be able to fly autonomously anywhere in the world, operated remotely.
We've been experiencing Waymo now for several years, and if you're in Phoenix, you know, a day doesn't go by where you don't see one. And I think that is also slowly coming into aviation as well.
The technology is rapidly advancing, and we're not too far away from seeing these birds flying on their own.
For me, it's very exciting.
Ty Brennan, Fox 10 News.
Pretty incredible. All right, finally tonight, the popular card game Uno is coming to Las Vegas. The game's parent company, Mattel, is planning to debut its first ever Uno Social Club at the Palms Casino Resort later on this month. Here's a look at what it will look like here. The club will feature Uno-inspired games, themed rooms, and immersive experiences. But we should point out here, even though this is in Vegas, players will not be able to place bets on those Uno games. The company is planning to debut more pop-ups like this one across the country later on this year. So you can't gamble on Uno, but still, looks like it should be a lot of fun when that happens in Vegas later on this month. Everyone enjoys playing Uno. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching. As always, you can stay up to date on all the stories we're covering across the West at westcoastwrap.com and stream our shows for free with the Fox Local app. Have a great night.